So anyway, it was 24 years ago this month that I first came to Baja with my two older sisters, whom you can see in this photo. And that's where I met the co-owner now at Todos Santos Eco Adventures, and now my husband, Sergio Halvergui. And on that same trip, I met Sergio's young guide in training, 24-year-old Bernardo Cruz. And as we went on and we started Todos Santos Eco Adventures, and we eventually convinced Bernardo to come and work with us. And as some of you has witnessed, he is widely considered the best guide in Baja. And now we're excited to spread that fame to mainland Mexico. And I just want to say, those of you who are familiar with Todos Santos Eco Adventures, you know we have some beautiful photos and videos who are taken by a wildlife photographer named Colin Ruggiero. So Colin went and did the Green Macaw Puebla trip with Bernardo, and he came back and he's like, this is just so amazing. I want to do a film on the Green Macaws, on Puebla, and on Bernardo. So he got so inspired by this trip. So it was super exciting. So I want you all to be able to come and experience it before the movie comes out. So, with that, I will turn it over to Bernardo.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Bernardo Cruz, and as Brian just pointed out, I've been guiding for close to 24 years now. And so this itinerary was born in year 2020. Of all the years during the pandemic, I went around and wanted to make a trip visiting some of the areas that I went to when I was in college that were really important to me. I am a biologist by training, so when I was in college, we went to some of these areas to learn more about biodiversity and to learn more about our origins and all of that. So as you can tell, between the two yellow signs, we're going to go from Mexico City all the way to Oaxaca City. Oaxaca is the name of the state, but also the name of the city that we're going to be visiting. So we're going to go from these really two big cities to these really small towns right in between there. We're going to do a road trip. So we spend a couple of days in Mexico City, then we go and spend a couple of days in the state of Puebla, in this rural area. We go from a city with 20 million people calling it home, and then we go to a place where 400 people call it home, and it's like surrounded by dirt roads and the most beautiful landscape. From there, we go to this other place that Green Macaws call home, which is the Cañon del Sabino in the area of La Cañada in Oaxaca. We spend some time there looking at the macaws, and then we end up our trip going towards Oaxaca City. Okay, and the next one. So I'm going to go through the itinerary. As soon as you arrive in Mexico City, I come pick you up from the airport, and then I take you to accommodations right there in the first square of downtown Mexico City. Our hotel is the Gran Hotel Ciudad de Mexico. It's a turn of the last century Art Nouveau building, complete with the stained Tiffany glass dome right there, and one of those, a period correct elevator right there in working order and everything. So we go there pretty slowly with our, it's just really beautiful. The hotel itself is like a highlight. It's really beautiful sight to behold. And as we get out of the hotel, we are right there downtown. That's the Mexico City Cathedral, and we're going to be surrounded by all of these colonial style buildings. We'll get to go to the cathedral and come up close. Our guide is going to be telling us about, everything. I mean, from the time of the pre-Hispanic times to nowadays, and where we are at now today. We're going to go and see all of this architecture, and in these buildings, not only are we going to enjoy the beautiful places itself, but we're going to be treated to really good food. Downtown Mexico City is home to really amazing restaurants, and we go to different restaurants every night to try different takes on Mexican food. from restaurants that don't need to be called Mexican food restaurants. We just know it's Mexicans, and we show the best that we have in those places. Can I see the next one? Okay, and then the first full day of the itinerary starts. We go north of Mexico City towards the Teotihuacan pyramids. And the Teotihuacan pyramids are just amazing. Like the biggest one is just as big in the base as the big Giza pyramid. It has been around for 2,400 years, and the history surrounding it is just really interesting to pass on. Just being there is a sight to behold. We come back from there, and then in the afternoon we spend some time in strolling around Mexico City. Next day, we go to the National Anthropology Museum. And in the National Anthropology Museum, our guide helps us get a more in-depth type of explanation on, again, the Teotihuacans and then the Aztecs, that were the people that that were in charge when the Spanish came into power. We stroll some more, and we go to other places around downtown Mexico City in the afternoon. And then the next day, we're ready to go to our next destination. And as you can see from this map, because of the colors right there, there's the area where we're going in Puebla is the southernmost. The Valle de Zapotitlán is the southernmost edge of the distribution of the arid landscape, the arid type of vegetation in Mexico. It makes it really special because that is the contact point with this other type of forest in Mexico, which is called the tropical deciduous forest. And so the plant aggregations make up for, are really unique. And we have a high percentage of endemisms. We also have got the highest diversity of cactus anywhere in Mexico, and of reptiles anywhere in Mexico. And then we keep going, and we'll end up in Oaxaca at some point. In that first day, we do a transfer that takes roughly 3.5 to 4 hours to get to the place where we're going. We're going to stay at the San Juan Raya cabins in your bottom right. That's the picture of the dining room where we're going to be staying at. This is a family-owned operation, very little camping and cabins area. The family that welcomes us is the family that actually does all of the cooking for us and all that. Again, we're going to a town that is 400 strong when everybody is there. And we're going to be using a lot of the ingredients from the area that would have been harvested in the area. Eating maggots and caterpillars and everything else is, of course, optional. You don't need to partake on that if that is not up your alley, but it's just a small example of the diversity that we're going to be running into. We're going to be eating cactus and insects. And that area, that place works as the best place to stay and then discover the area around. So you will see right here, we have got elephant trees, and in the next one, we have got the elephant trees, and then some of the different cactus that we find in the area. These ones are the techas. You can see right here, this is a really good example of what the landscape looks like. So this really open valley, undulating valley with the big mountains in the back, a little bit like a desert that doesn't look that desert. It actually has got a lot of life right there in the area. We can see some of the barrel cactus, and we can see some of the small agaves. And I love this picture. It's really good for for you to at least have a little bit of perspective on the size of these barrel cactus. Could easily be over 200 years old, and that's how.
Yeah, in Baja they don't get this big. Having a barrel cactus this taller than you is pretty amazing.
And well, diversity again. Just look at different type of barrel cactus. And our next activity, the next day, we'll go and visit Julian's family. And Julian's family owns this very little clay pottery workshop. And so we go there, and while Adela is teaching us how to work with the pottery right there in the workshop. They set up a kitchen and they start cooking for us right there. So while we're taking the workshop, you don't know, sometimes you get too distracted because of the smells coming from the kitchen. Really, really, really good food. They will use all of their local these local ingredients, and they will make this really intimate type of thing where a family that is welcoming us and showing us what they make for a living is also treating us to lunch. And in the afternoon, we go back and we do a little bit more of hiking, and we enjoy a little bit more of the place. The next day, we take another transfer. Again, we're on the road in the morning for 3 hours, 3.5 hours thereabouts. And we keep heading southeast towards Oaxaca, the state. And we arrive to the region of La Cañada. And in the region of La Cañada, suddenly there's this massive canyon right there in the middle of nowhere. This canyon is called home by the green macaws whenever, in the next slide, please, whenever there's mating season. So we go there towards the afternoon of that day. We start hiking up the side of the canyon, and we end up right there at the top of the canyon, overlooking these guys as they come back from a day of eating out there. All we need is a pair of binoculars, our telescope, and we can get up and close with them and just see them chatting about how the day went and all that, maybe preening. Like these are very social birds. So they spend all the time with their pair, and we get to see all that. It's really special and really beautiful. By the end of that day, we start coming down just soon before sunset, or soon before all of the light runs out, and we go to the nearby town of Cuicatlan. And in the nearby town of Cuicatlan, we're going to go to this restaurant where we met Christian and his siblings. Christian has got this really beautiful restaurant. They have built everything from scratch, he and his brother, and they have a slow food type of approach towards cuisine. So I actually don't know what we will eat or what will be on the menu ever. I just called him. So remember, we're meeting this afternoon. Yeah. What are we going to have for lunch? I don't know. I'm just going to go to the market and see what they have. And he'll come up with, 3 or 4 courses with whatever he found in the market that morning. And it's just amazing.
It's insane.
The ambience and his treatment of food is just amazing. And next day, so now we're much closer. Next day, we have got another transfer day. We go from Cuicatlan, which is not touristy at all. It's actually like you seldom see any tourists, if at all, like in that area. We go towards Oaxaca City. So once we're in Oaxaca City, again, downtown Oaxaca City has got a lot of colonial buildings, really old city as well. Oaxaca is the most biodiverse and the most culturally diverse state in the whole of Mexico. That's saying a lot. So there's at least 8 different native Mexican groups right there, and you will see expressions of art and expressions of who they are in their crafts and handcrafts, but also just like when you start walking around town. And we're going to be doing a lot of that, like strolling through town in the afternoon after we have done the morning activity, just getting into galleries. And next one, please. Again, you're just walking in the street. Here we are.
Your trusty models again.
Yeah. Right. They were our test pilots for that trip. And well, we're just walking around. And another really good example of the diversity right there in the state will be, of course, in the food. So we'll be treated to amazing dishes in different restaurants. And they will be from very traditional type of restaurants to the more fusion and modern take into those traditional dishes that we have in the area. So we have food from the coast, we have food from the mountains, food from the central valleys, and all that. It's just to die for. And what the activities have, what type of activities we have for you once you are there. We go to the neighborhood town of Teotitlán del Valle, and in Teotitlán del Valle, their specialty is they weave rugs from wool, and we get to see all of the process. They take a lot of pride in what they do, and they are real artisans. You get to see some really fine examples of what they do. Many of them use like the natural dyes, and here this woman is showing us how to get the natural dye from natural products. So we get to see a lot of the process, and experience it firsthand. Two of the main destinations when we go to Oaxaca City nearby are the archaeological sites of Mitla and Monte Alban. And Mitla and Monte Alban both are on different timelines, and both belong to different cultures in Mexico. And again, our guide is going to be with us all the time, explaining us about what is the importance of this, and to help us better get an understanding of where we're at nowadays in terms of idiosyncrasy and the geopolitical thing in Oaxaca, and how the state has evolved over the years. It's really interesting, especially Monte Alban. Monte Alban was never discovered by the Spaniards, so it was never ransacked. And just in the 1930s, if I remember correctly, or 1940s, there were some some archaeologists that found the area, and then they found the burial sites, and the burial sites were just as they were left several hundred years ago. And we go to the museum, and it's just beautiful. It's really fantastic. We get to learn much more about Mexican culture. And in the next slide, so this is a really good picture of the central valleys of Oaxaca, the really wide open areas surrounded by mountains. And as you can tell in the foreground, there's a little bit of agriculture going there. One of the main crops in the next slide is actually agave for mezcal. So you have heard from mezcal lately, raise your hand. Its popularity around the world is raising a lot. There's still many areas where they do the traditional way of making mezcal. So you will find open air pits like this one, like a rock pit where they will cook oven, where they will cook the pineapples, or that's what they call the pieces of agave that they use for obtaining the distillate. And we can see a more commercial side of that, or we can see a more, I don't know, off the beaten path and close and, like a more secluded type of process, depending on what your audience is up to. And then we go for the mandatory mezcal tasting, if that is up your ale. Like right here, we are all right here with Jesus, enjoying all of these different mezcales, and we ended up buying, I don't know, like 10 different bottles. I can't remember how many.
Can't remember a lot of that day for some reason.
I remember a lot of that day. And, that's a beautiful end to this trip right there. And we fly out of Oaxaca back to Mexico City, and then you fly back home from Mexico City. And that's it. Yeah, this is our trip.
Fantastic, guys. I just for your reference, I'm just going to pop the itinerary into the chat. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, you can check it out now or later. Thanks for this virtual tour, Bernardo. I'm ready to fly to Mexico City and join you guys. I had a couple of questions, and then if anybody else has questions, feel free just to unmute or pop them into the chat. Thank you, Claire. Why don't we start with Claire's question first, actually. What level of fitness is required, I think, specifically for that hike into the canyon to see the macaws?
Yeah, so the hike into the canyon is is the one strenuous activity that we have. And it should take us roughly 45 minutes to an hour. You gain like 600 feet in altitude, going from the river all the way to the top of the canyon. It is hot. It is the middle of the day, but we do it very little by little. Like we stop every so often, and then we drink some water. We try to hide in the shade, and then we keep doing that again.
So I would say if you are active every day and walk every day, you're not going to have any issues. But like Sergio's sister went with us, and she'd been a flight attendant, and of course she wasn't really in shape. So she, even though she's much younger than all of us, and but it wasn't any issue. We would just go and then just stop, relax, hydrate, and go again. We had plenty of time. And the payoff is just huge. So it's really, the motivation to get up there and do it. And there's no reason to rush. You're going to get there. Bernardo's timed it so that you get there when the macaws are flying and after the day and going into the licks and all that. So.
How large is the colony of those green macaws, Bernardo?
Okay. So at the height of the season, you can get to see, I don't know, something like 30 pairs of birds coming by. A colony of green macaws, a big colony of green macaws can be called like 100 individuals. Like they are pretty scattered and all that. We won't get to see 100 individuals sitting in front of us, like, I don't know, in a row or something like that. They are flying in. Into the canyon, we see them going by. Most of the times they fly around, and again, before they go to bed, before they go to roost, they are always sitting right there in the trees right next to the canyon. That's where we get the opportunity to see them. It's more about the number. It's just the fact that how they arrive. So when they arrive, they arrive, you're there in the afternoon, you have got the right conditions, which we do most of the times in this time of the year. We have got the sunlight of the afternoon hitting on them. And then when they're flying and doing all of those displays in front of us, that's really unique, really beautiful.
It's really kind of amazing because they're enormous birds. I mean, I don't know, what's the wingspan on those things? I mean, they're really large. And the pairs are just like they're completely in sync. It's like amazing, synchronized flights of the thing. And how do they do that? I mean, how can they know what the other's doing, or does the Western mate? I mean, it's like, a lot of questions kind of get formed, but it's so spectacular, and it's like a miracle. I mean, you're just watching them kind of coming down, and they're doing these banks and loops, and then, as Bernardo likes to say, they get on the tree, they get on the trees, and then they just talk about the day. Everything that went on for that day, and they're just chat, and it's like, and it's just really, you can feel this whole connection with them. It's like being inside of this moment of their lives. It's just thrilling. It's worth the hike. Even if you're a little out of shape, it's worth doing.
Yeah, I think that one thing I would say about this, I actually discovered this place because I was getting my master's I'm a biologist by training, and I was getting my master's with macaw behavior and macaw diet, and I would go there and sit like for 5 hours every day just to get to see them arrive, and just sitting there next to the canyon and all that, and having these guys fly by, it's just one of those really wild experiences not many people get to see. It's just you're sitting in their home and just watching them do their thing. They don't really mind that you are there because you're not a threat. And you don't fly, so they come and they land right next to you and keep on with their days. It's one of those really wild experiences. Yeah.
And just sort of picking up on that theme, I mean, the thing that really impressed me and my family being there is Bernardo's cultivated this kind of team of local guides in these different tiny locations. And the tourists that they work with are other Mexicans. There's really no other people from other parts of North America. There's not from the United States and Canada. Maybe they get a stray Spaniard every now and again, but that's it. And so it's really this truly undeveloped area, and they are just so sweet and welcoming, but you're not going there to ask somebody about the local culture. They are the local culture, and they're there, and they're right there with you. So it's really wonderful, and they're really charming and really excited about, you know, the opportunities that Bernardo's bringing in.
In those areas, I like to say that I always play second fiddle. I only bring you there. I know that there's the figure of a tour companion in many other countries. So I come, I make sure that everything is going on. Of course, I'm going to be guiding the trips and all that, but the people that are going to be sharing these things with us are going to be the locals. We go directly with locals. They're showing us where they live and what all of these things mean to us. And I think that is what gives a big adding to the whole experience, that we're sharing it with no filter right there in the center.
Yeah, immersive, truly. Question from Shannon, a couple related questions from Kelly and Shannon. So price point roughly, it does depend on the number of guests, and you guys don't have any set departures at this point, so most of this would be privately guided, correct?
Yeah. So we start. So the seasonality of the trip has to do with the macaw. The macaws have to be in nesting season for them to be at the place. Now, depending on where you want to come and how many people are coming, we could further discuss all of those details on a person-by-person basis and all that. So we'll give you a price point, and then from there, depending on what you need what you need for your audience. So you know that your audience are looking for more of this or more of that. We can tailor that, like moving the days and all that, and then price point will be set by that.
So for example, in Oaxaca, like if you're like my family, well, you go and drink the mezcal place. But other people that may be more into culture, there's like a mini Palenque, which no one ever goes to. It's just this amazing archaeological site. So you could do that instead. So I think, and then it's a question of like the trip that we do is 10 days.
9 nights.
Yeah.
So the itinerary, as we put it right there, is 10 days, 9 nights. I wanted to do it that way because if you're coming to Mexico for the first time and you're flying through Mexico City, it'll do a disservice to you not to spend that time discovering Mexico City. And then the other two places I really love, and they are right there in the middle because they represent a lot what rural Mexico is like what a place that is not catered for tourists is like, where you get to see these guys going on with their daily life, and they're so kind to share that with us in that beautiful landscape as well. And then we come to Oaxaca for 3 more days and doing stuff around. But again, depending on what you're interested on, there could be less days in Oaxaca, more days in Oaxaca, less days with this, less days with that. If you have got availability at different times of the year, we could see how we go around. Because I worked with the macaws, I know where they are in different time of the year, so we can still get to see them. They'll just be in a different area, not this specific canyon, but a sinkhole. And so we'll go to that sinkhole, and the hike will be slightly different. But again, we'll talk about all of that depending on what you're interested in.
So
go ahead, Brian.
Oh, sorry, I was just going on to Kelly, the questions that I looked in the chat. I was seeing some of the questions I was going to start.
Yeah, do you have a ballpark per person price point rack for that 10-day itinerary?
Yeah, for the 10-day right now we are at 3,900.
Okay, per person. Yeah, rack rate.
Per person on double accommodation basis and a 4-person minimum. Yep.
That's perfect. Helpful. Okay.
Yep.
And seasonality, Darcy asked about. I know you typically would run this between April and August, September.
No, April and late July.
Late July. Okay.
We can start as early as March, but again, because of the number of people that are, the number of macaws that are going to be there, like as we did the surveys in the area, we noticed that the number in the canyon go up in certain time of the years, then they just go away right there because
Yeah.
there's nothing for them except for the nesting grounds. So that's why, like my my time in the year is just from April to July. That's where we have the most right there. Again, we could go and would go to this other to this different area to see them in a different time of the year. We will see less of them, but we would like the itinerary would be the same. They are in the same region, just not in the same canyon. Yeah.
And for someone who really wanted to focus on the birding, you know, the macaws specifically, you could conceivably add another night in that region to spend another day.
The reason it is as it is right now, it is just because I understand that not all people are hardcore birders,
Right?
or maybe you don't want to spend 2 nights in this. Again, it's really different being in rural Mexico compared to the big cities, right? And so we're going to be there surrounded by Mexicans and no one that's speaking English. So I thought that those 3 days right there in the center will be like the best in order to tip your toes into the, I don't know, going to outdoors Mexico type of thing in mainland.
Yeah.
And but if I have got a bunch of birders, then I can take them for as long as they want and go birding. Actually, that area in the state of Oaxaca is it's a paradise for birders because you just have, again, like one of the Oaxaca alone has got something like 750 species of birds, which is as much as the US has got on its own. And the diversity of landscapes and the diversity of vegetation types allow us to see. If it is for wildlife, especially birds, it's really, it's really
so very flexible based on the interests of the group.
Yes, yeah. Again, we have a lot of options right there.
Yeah.
So just thinking about that place where we go with the macaws. As I said, we arrive there when we go to Huasquicatlán. In the next day, when we go to Oaxaca, again, if we didn't want to spend 2 days in the, if we wanted to spend 2 days right there, we would go to do something else in the morning. Like we can go to the river or something, or we can do a hike around this area. And if people like that so much, we'll go back to the place to see the macaws. I know that as soon as we come down, we'll go like, oh, let's do this again. You just have to wait 1 more day in order to do that. That'll be a question of what we do in that morning. We have got lots of options to offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Shannon's got a great question here about the conservation challenges for this particular population. Are they dealing with conservation issues, habitat issues, or are they doing well?
Yeah, they're doing well. So we are actually this trip goes like once we get to the first place in the state of Puebla, we are inside the biosphere reserve of the Tehuacan-Cuicatlan Basin. It is managed as that. Biosphere reserve is something akin to a national park, just different activities are allowed inside the area. And conservation is its main purpose. So we face a lot of course, a lot of threats, like in many other areas. The macaws are doing fine for the last 10 to 20 years. Like their numbers have been stable, and the number of recruits every year keep the population stable. They are a rare bird, and their population doesn't grow that much. And they move a lot during the day. So if you can think of a bird just flying at 30K an hour, that's like 20 miles an hour, which a macaw can pretty easily do. When they go eating, and once you're sitting up in the canyon, you see them coming from far away. So in a good day, they can be 40 miles away from home, sometimes more. They would have eaten, I don't know, like in this oak forest in the morning, and then come back to the deciduous dry forest in the afternoon. There's a little bit of trouble with habitat loss and some conflicts the farmers don't like them when they come and raid, you know, like the cornfields and all that. They don't shoot them, but they scare them. The population is dying, is doing fine nonetheless. Yeah.
I remember when we went the second day, we went to that other area where we saw it was a different canyon where the macaws.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually saw a lot more pairs.
Yeah.
So there's another actually location near the main canyon we can go. And we saw a lot of pairs come into that main canyon, which we showed on the presentation. But there's another one where we actually saw a lot more.
Yeah. So if you're a macaw, in this one is another place where we know they hang out, and the experience is very different since they are really far away from we see them. Again, I know these places because when you're doing bird surveys, you want to see where they are. Doing bird surveys is not for every other tourist. That's why I don't necessarily go to that place or all that. But they want to find the security, I guess, of being on really high cliffs and all that. There, you cannot be surprised by terrestrial predators and all that. So they'll go and find all of these inaccessible areas to spend the day at. Yeah.
Fascinating. I think maybe the last question from Shannon is, what's the maximum capacity or size of group that you'd recommend based on the accommodations? Yeah,
regarding the accommodations, I'd say 8. 8 is a really good size of the group right there, and it is easy to operate with one vehicle. After we go 9, then we need 2 vehicles. So again, because of the vehicles and all that, and the accommodation availability, especially in the cabins, like people can get a slightly different experiences right there. And so it's
well, I think also, you know, when you're up on the canyon, when you're up on the canyon lip, there's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of room. So I don't think you
yeah, this is not like a canyon that has got a I don't know, like a paved overlook and then some railing to be holding on to.
It's Mexico.
we actually just go to the edge of the rocks, and so we say, okay, so stay 10 feet away from the edge. We sit right here and we quietly wait for them to come in here. So there's not a lot in the in the way of room and all that. Another one of the things that keeps me from bringing a big group, like say 16 or something like that, if we do that, then we have to go to different lookouts. There are a couple of them, and of course, the group on the left saw 21 birds, and the group on the right saw 19 birds, and then there's going to be such a. I mean, it's one of those things where you cannot control the experience so much more once you get to a point. If people are okay with that, as many people that are seasoned wildlife watchers are, then there's no problem. We can easily do that.
No, it's always a problem.
I know it is a problem because I didn't see the thing.
I didn't see the whatever. Right.
There were some mating in the second lookout, but not in the first lookout.
Of course. Murphy's Law, yeah. Well, I think it's the perfect, you know, small group experience with or less. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think your description of the canyon has brought up Shannon's last question, which is about safety protocols being when you're so remote and in areas with less developed infrastructure. How do you handle that safety?
I love that less developed infrastructure. Shannon, there is no infrastructure on it's a wild area. It's completely wild, undeveloped area. So
yeah, but we are again like from the area for example. So first we go the one rural area that we go first in San Juan Raya. We are within 1 hour from the closest hospital, which is as much time as it takes you to get to a hospital in the city anyway. So I don't see that big of a deal. I'm a wilderness first responder, so I can say that just take care of an emergency and stabilize a person until we get to final care. Which is what we do in this type of situations. To say knock on wood, not on my trips. And then in the other place, going out of once we get out of the Cañon del Sabino, we are close to Cuicatlan, and Cuicatlan has got a full-on hospital ready to get someone should that necessity arise. But just like when you go to any other remote area, I don't know, in any other country, final care is within an hour and a half of where you have the issue if you get there fast. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do have amazing photos from Colin, as well as, I don't know if we have any video, but it sounds like there may be some forthcoming anyway with this
He's gonna come back to do the
documentary.
video, so
Okay.
that way, yeah.
But we do have amazing video or photo assets, especially of the macaws. You saw a couple of the photos in the presentation. So yes, we can share all of that with all of you. Any last words, Brian and Bernardo, before we let these guys go for their Monday afternoon?
Just come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well said.
Yeah, just come and see it for yourselves. It's really for me, it's just super exciting and thrilling to see this place that's just so extraordinarily beautiful and so undeveloped, and where you actually have to be responsible for yourself when you're standing on the cliff, and there's not a railing there to keep you back. It's truly thrilling and exciting, and to see those macaws fly in, it's just really otherworldly. So I just really, it's a huge payoff on the trip. And then the food is just insane. You could actually bill it as a whole foodie trip through Mexico, and you get to see green macaws. That'd be kind of one way to put it too.
Ticks all the boxes.
Exactly. Exactly. So
we're also talking about a fam trip later this year, so June or July time period. So we'll keep you all posted on that, and then hopefully we can get some of you down to experience it in person. Gretchen, you and I can arm wrestle or thumb wrestle for who gets to go and host this trip.
Watch out, Ted.
I was about to say, Ted, you may want to rethink your strategy there.
I need to start doing push-ups at the very least.
Anyway,
all right. Well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for
everyone for taking the time. Appreciate it very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Take care.